You're listening to the Unreasonable Fridays Podcast Network.
What's cracking, people? Y'all ready? Let's go. This beat make me feel like a cunt. This make me feel like a cunt. This make me feel like a cunt. Cunt.
Good evening, my fellow sexual subjects. You are listening to a broadcast of the CuntCast podcast, a conversation with a classily characterized cunt, carefully crafted with cognizant courage to champion conscientious consummation. I am your host, the Jaileree, and I am joined by my favorite human being, Mr. Aaron Rand Freeman. How are you doing, sir?
I'm living my best life possible. And by that I mean still navigating.
I was trying.
Listen,
I was trying to match your positivity.
No, I mean it's kind of like a good time in like The Walking Dead, like a good time on the settlement. You're having a good 6 hours, but you know, if you get on top of a tree and look in a pair of binoculars, you'll see 100 zombies just kind of out in the wilderness, just doing zombie stuff. And it's a good day because the scale for a good day has changed permanently. So, you know, I'm
I feel that.
right.
That's
So I'm in the house and safe and that's it. That's all you can ask for. Playing video games. That's it.
sounds good. I gotta say, season 2 of the pandemic, not my favorite. I do love that I am no longer expected to go out and do things with people. But other than that, I feel like I'm doing my best given the circumstances. And that might not sound like a ringing endorsement, but I've also not gone insane and like become a woman of the woods and like fashioned rudimentary sex toys from the bones of my enemies or anything like that. So sometimes you gotta look at the bright side of things.
It is good that we've kind of, I guess some people can find a little bit of a rhythm here. I do find it strange that we are no longer acting like we're in a pandemic while people are in a pandemic. And the pandemic is the answer for most of the problems. Like if you ever
Yes.
see the news reports and they'll talk about a lack of people here or a lack of manpower there
Yeah,
or
I
a
was
lack
like,
of
why
this.
is there a disruption in the supply chain? It's like 1,000,000 people fucking died.
Yes.
Like
And
at
then
least like a bunch of them were like supply chaining it up.
and I believe in response about 200,000 people retired. So a lot of folks died. A lot of folks can't go back to work. And a lot of folks retired, like the parents. Now we can't have two because we can't send our kid. We can't have the ability to send our kids anywhere now for childcare. Sometimes the parents are home. So now where there were two parents working, there's one parent working, and a
Yeah.
huge chunk of folks retired because they saw a bunch of people die. And then the country's response was like, LOL, get back to work. So they were like, bet, and stopped working forever.
Yeah.
As they
Yeah.
should. Especially if you're old, because they were telling you, it was like, well, some of the elderly will have to go in the grand wood chipper of capitalism for the betterment of me and my boat. And they responded
Yeah.
by,
A lot of like older workers were also just like let go. So it wasn't like your choice to retire, but it's
yep,
like I'm 67 years old. I'm not gonna get another job because of ageism and nobody wants to pay me what I'm worth. So yeah. Economies. But we have things
We have a
to discuss.
program. It's a
We are.
program full of program things.
Yeah. I feel um like what's the opposite of like doom scrolling? Like when you just like obsess about the news and like the world around you and it just makes you like all anxious. I feel like I have developed the opposite of that where I only scroll entertainment stories about people I do not know. So I'm always like, this is useless bullshit. But like I have chosen to look at that. So I don't actually like ingest anything. So
Actually, it's funny. I almost would like to do a general information like collection about what it is that we do, because we did doom scroll, but in the opposite, we do scroll something. So I do want to know what it is that we scroll now that isn't doom.
well, I feel like I'm on my second or third iteration of blank scrolling. Before it was doom scrolling and being like the news hound I used to be. And then I was like, okay, that's not doing anything. And then I was like pop culture obsessed. So it was just like nerdy scrolling. And then I got sick of um, other nerds and people, which I don't blame myself for that. And now I'm doing like all the articles I get, like Google's like teen mom did a racism. And I'm like, why is teen mom still on the air? What? So now I just feed myself useless information that I cannot possibly care about. And I feel like that is my new coping mechanism is reading about celebrities, um, whose contributions to the world I'm not gonna like gloss over, but just like they don't resonate with me. I just keep looking at like the lowest tier of celebrity gossip to the point where Twitter actually was like breaking. The baby calls cops on Danny Lee. And I was like, I hate that I know who these two people are. Um, let me at 3 in the morning watch several live Instagram things um, and form a half opinion. I'm not going to say it's a full opinion, but a half opinion on two people that I should never think more than 5 minutes about. And I feel like the biggest hypocrite because was I not just yelling at people for being in dude that looks like a foot? His business?
John Mulaney.
That one. Uh, and now here I am forming an opinion on the uh, questionable relationship of
Well, let's make a rule
the
then.
baby.
Let's make a rule. Okay, let's go. We can formulate, because it is with respect part of your doom scrolling alternate thing,
Yeah.
right?
I,
You blank scroll.
in my defense, it is also local news because this did go down like 10 miles from my house.
Okay, so then we can put a time limit based on the ages of the people involved. So Danny
I don't
Lee,
know.
right? Danny Lee is 26,
Oh.
and the
Um,
baby is 29.
oh, I thought he was a little younger the way he was acting.
No, he's just
That's
he's just
disappointing.
no, he's just a, with all due respect, he's just a bit of an idiot. He's just dumb. He's not a
I could have sworn he was like a
no.
fresh 23 years old.
No, this is why for the record, I thought this was why he was getting canceled all over, was that he is now officially old enough to know better. If he was like 20, then, you give him a second to get his bearings. No, he's far too old to be acting like he does.
I mean, he's not like, 40 or whatever, where I'm like,
Here's the deal. If you're
I absolutely give you no wiggle room, but like 29 is
his viewpoint, the issues that he has and his viewpoints are that of an 18, 19-year-old. His problems, what he's saying, his opinions on the matter, his replies, the discourse, the discourse is that of a 20-year-old. So he's behind, which is why I thought people were just like, get the fuck out of here, baby, do better, which is general rule.
He was charming for all of 29 seconds and then just ruined all like the like good
he came in. He
graces
did. He came
that
in
people
as a
had for
vibe.
him.
He absolutely did arrive as a vibe, and then we spent a little too much time with the camera on him.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
It just and it's one of those things. It's unfortunate, but yeah, we spent a little too much time with him, and as that happens. That is what happens. And so now we can grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are definitely worse celebrities. You have nobody attending to the mental health needs of Kanye West, and he's having weird church services with addicted to abuse Marilyn Manson. Uh, I kind of feel like there should be like a little more people going, hey, maybe let's examine what this means as permissible in our culture. But no, that did not light up Twitter the way this DaBaby situation did.
He generates far too much revenue for far too much people for anyone to do a deep dive into why the fuck. Far too much revenue.
Yeah, what was weird, like when I'm writing, sometimes I just have YouTube playlists. Like it'll be like, you're a ballerina dancing with a ghost in a dark academia setting. Like those type of like weird, uh, like 9-hour long instrumental playlists.
Right.
And somehow it'd be like, oh, your playlist is done. And then it'd be like, do you want to watch Kanye West's Sunday service? And I'm just like, me, the person who was listening to the dark academia ballerina dancing with the ghost, like, who did he pay to make that pop up? Because I damn sure am not engaging with his art anymore. Like literally on Tidal, you could block artists. So I have it so Kanye West's new stuff never shows up. I also blocked his thing on YouTube, so I'm not supposed to ever hear about him again. And yet, YouTube was like, oh, I know what you want. This Sunday service. And it is weird. And I feel like if we weren't in season 2 of the pandemic, this wouldn't be so easy to get away with. Like more people would be like, this is weird. Like I feel like the pandemic has dulled our senses. I mean, it could be the pandemic, it could be, just post-Trump malaise. We're just wasting away with terminal ennui.
I mean, the collective exhaustion.
Yeah.
It manifests itself in two things. One, powerful inaction, just legendary fits of inaction, and a refusal to take seriously any issue that can't be changed quickly. So we have a lot of venom for things that don't matter, like entertainment. And we do not have a lot of venom for things that matter, like representation and the actual social direction of our country. Those things take so much time to change. We now have deemed those things too much of a walk, too long of a walk. So we just spend our time yelling at things that are objectively fine.
Yeah. I also noticed that like in my I guess I'm gonna call it like post doom scrolling interactions with the internet, I have realized that so many media entities have been like bought by more right wing entities. So like they'll cover a story where one of the teen moms, don't ask me to remember her name because I'm not gonna, I forgot her face while I was looking at it. But she was supposed to launch a like mommy yoga line or whatever, and she got dropped. And the articles talking about this was like, oh, well, Teen Mom got dropped. So her clothing line isn't going to launch. They didn't mention that she got dropped because uh, she was yelling at LeBron James and calling a murderer uh, a great American and brave. Uh, and I kind of felt like they were burying the lead by not mentioning that. It was just like, oh, she doesn't know what she's gonna do, but she survived her tears and she's gonna try to make this launch happen. I'm like, but like we're gonna gloss over the fact that she's like, I'm really, really so into this white nationalist murderer. Like, he's an example of a Martian. And so that makes me feel like I'm trying to not over engage in the doom and gloom politics, but even in the most vapid and just non magnanimous of news stories, if you go like just like a millimeter deeper, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot we're all doomed and everything is terrible. So I feel like it is post doom scrolling, but still on a certain level, it's just doom scrolling with extra steps.
Well, I don't think anything is unaffected by the state of the world right now. So it's everything is doom scrolling because a lot of things are, very few things exist outside of whatever state humanity is in. So whether you know it or not, I'm always laughing at the aggression people have, like I mentioned earlier about entertainment. Like Disney announced they're bringing back the X-Men cartoon, for example. The one from Fox,
God.
right. They're bringing it back, right? So the general response is everyone is kind of like, it better be good or else, and
Really,
it's
What?
like the original X-Men cartoon fell off the rails fairly quickly after it hit the scene. We only remember the first season and a half of it with rose-tinted glasses, and then they removed all the money from it. And then it
I
became,
don't know. I like the later episodes where they go into space and you have Charles's girl with the crazy hair. I love
there
it.
was more
I
than
stuck around.
it was definitely up and down in the way our classic cartoons were. But
Yeah.
there's a general, like, a shaking of the fist, a rattling of the saber at Disney. And
I
it's like,
mean,
the doom scrolling, the state of humanity means that we aren't enjoying what is happening. There is never a moment where humans truly trust like, at this point, Disney's not going to fuck up anything related to Marvel because that's where their money comes. That's where a big chunk of their money comes from. The Disney stuff, Star Wars, Marvel. So obviously it should be fine, right? Right.
yeah.
But we react this way. We just kind of like have this general aggressive, miserable, curmudgeonly response to things that to just like things that don't matter because of where we are, because of the level of fatigue, because of the misery. We just kind of are now locked into this. We can't even enjoy ourselves without shaking our fist at something as a people. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Well, I kind of feel like Disney also did that to themselves with uh like when they had the new Star Wars movies, which I kind of feel like they're bad. They're bad movies. Even like the best one was
right,
mid.
right. But Star Wars is
But
always mid.
yeah, like
The only Star Wars escape being mid in the novels via novelization. The
no,
entire
I read
world.
those novels.
Listen, I'm not saying they're
They had
classic.
a dark cloud evil lady
Listen, I'm not saying
who
that they're classic. I'm saying is the world of the novels is better than the world of the movies.
Sure, but it was also goofy as fuck.
Right. Uh,
But
it was still
I
more.
would say that they messed up with Star Wars when like the fanboys, like the most toxic fanboys, were catered to
Yeah.
for the like detrimental results. And so now they have this, oh, well, they have to listen to me because I'm the, and I was like, that's not how art works, or it shouldn't. But also, we allow Disney to have a monopoly. So what the hell else are you gonna watch? If you think that these Star Wars movies are genuinely good, chances are you're not gonna mosey on down to IFC and watch some cinema. So you're gonna take whatever trash they shovel in your mouth. You would go, "Daddy, thank you for the content," and you're gonna go along your way. Like they know that.
I mean, everything around Star Wars is much better than the movies.
Yeah.
Mandalorian's much better. Cartoons are much better.
Yes. I don't. I
Everything.
don't. I think like I Star Wars was such a like formative thing for me in my childhood because I like Star Wars has always existed for me.
Right.
Like um like I remember like my first memories. I had a bunch of like Star Wars stuff because my dad really liked it. So even as like a baby, my first things I had like little stormtroopers and stuff. And as I grew up, I'm like, oh, this is just some corporation like manipulating me, saying, oh, don't you love your childhood? So I guess you have to love our brand. And I just can't like vibe with Star Wars the way I used to. Just enjoy it as like something that I understand is made for children. And it's like feeding my inner child because now I know that it's like this harsh conglomerate that is destroying uh, just so many lives with their monopoly, is hoarding nostalgia and like wielding it like a weapon against the masses and not even making stuff for the kids that Star Wars was originally for. They're making it for like angry fanboys who like just piss blood every time a woman or somebody who is not white is on screen. So it's just I don't. It just it. I feel like there was less stuff to enjoy
Definitely more stuff to
because of
enjoy.
how people engage with popular culture now.
Oh, there's definitely more stuff to enjoy. That's kind of my point. There is more stuff to enjoy. The vocal minority is vocal, but it's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Star Wars has always been strange. The movies have always been strange, but the universe itself is better than it's ever been, even though the movies still cater to the wrong people. And that's what I mean. There's something of value constantly around, and our inability to see it is part of the general fatigue that we have of living in the hellscape. Is that we no longer can see the things that are happening. We're just like, this sucks. It all sucks. And then if nothing sucks, then we make sure something does suck. And we make sure we find something that sucks about the thing when it's objectively fine, as most things are fine.
I feel like that's what people are doing to Marvel stuff now. Because, like, when I read reviews of the Eternals, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a dumpster fire. I got to see this. And I was like, oh, that was a perfectly serviceable, fine movie.
Right. Yes.
And I was like, you seriously think that, like, that was as like not as good as Doctor Strange or friggin' Thor: The Dark World? I'm like, in what world?
The like I said, we live in a time where things, for the most part, we don't have the dumpster fire anymore. Like in terms of games, in terms of music, in terms of movies, we don't have the raging dumpster fire, the AAA plus dumpster fire, the $100 million dumpster fire like we used to, like Spider-Man 3, for example. We don't have those anymore. But we refuse to acknowledge that and we will just create the Spider-Man 3 out of nothing. Now we will create the thing that sucks. So now Eternals sucks because nothing sucks. So something has to be terrible, and we've now assigned the terrible to the Eternals, for example. So, it's like I said, it's,
and I'm not saying the Eternals is perfect.
no, absolutely not. I'm saying, when I say things aren't bad, I'm saying is that we need to understand that things back in the day used to be shitty, like bad, like
Yeah,
Punisher
like,
with
I
Thomas
can say,
Jane,
like,
bad, right?
like, did people forget Elektra or
Right.
Daredevil? Like,
Right. Yes. So we have movies now that are at their worst serviceable 7 out of 10 films. Right.
like
That's great.
they used to just not make sense.
Yes. Movies were incoherent, especially superhero movies were incoherent when we were kids. Incoherent growing up. Absolute nonsense.
Like, I was on the bandwagon that Venom was really terrible, and then I rewatched the Fantastic Four movie with Silver Surfer, and I was like, oh no, Venom's actually not that bad.
Yes. Yes. Venom.
Like, I'm very spoiled.
Yes. Venom 1 and 2 are 2 7 out of 10 movies. That's it. We create the Spider-Man 3 out of nothing now.
Yeah, like if Venom came out in like 2004, it would have won an Oscar. Because the slop that we were like, yes, this is a passable and good movie, actually.
Bro.
Like, yikes.
Bro. It was messy back then, and we just, like I said, and I don't know, it's because I think as people have very short memories, for one, but I also think we are taking out frustration on our entertainment. We absolutely do. So many things we chew out. We spend so much of our free time yelling about the entertainment that is.
I had to like check myself one day because I was, dicking around on Facebook because I'm old, and somebody was like, how am I supposed to know what the Eternals is? They're like doing all this new stuff and I don't get it and blah, blah, blah. So I'm supposed to just know all this information. And like, I was about to type like, yeah, like welcome to comics. Like, their tie-ins and will have to figure stuff out. Like, what? And I was like, oh, I'm kind of being like that guy right now. Like, I'm pretty much like, oh, so you didn't read the 1991 run of this obscure title, so you don't know who Kingo is? I'm like, oh, just so people enjoy things.
Yes.
And instead of being like, oh, well, this is how comic readers have always do. I was like, you know what? If you want to know about the Eternals, I actually did read that goofy ass shit. Ask me questions. And it was such a better interaction than going, I must gatekeep because you don't know as much about the thing as I know right now as somebody with the body of a heavy reader. Like, that's what I did. This person, is on a keto diet, has multiple interests, raises children. Like, they don't have long boxes under their beds, and that's fine. You can still enjoy the thing. I don't. I was disappointed when I felt myself turning into comic book nerd guy.
It depends on why. I find myself doing this when wrestling people will talk about wrestling without context. They'll have an opinion on something that is completely fueled by context. So you go, actually, 2 years ago, and and I have a problem with it. I actually freely admit the short-sighted reactionary nature of folks is now becoming more like bait to me, because I'm like, I've lived too long and I remember too much stuff where now people are yelling about a thing And I'm like, well, the reason why this thing exists was started 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And then you have to, in telling them that, you became actually in 2016, a little known company started a promotion called, and it's just like, yeah, I'm right, and I am right, but it's just like, I need you guys to stop screeching about entertainment so hard. Like everything just started last week. Like, please. I don't want to have to give you a history lesson, but most things are governed by context. Please.
Yeah.
Please. Stop screeching. It's okay. We're in a good spot. And I say this, I was telling Erica this. We're in such a good spot. We have nothing else to focus on but social issues. There's nothing else. Our entertainment needs are being super served. Our backlogs are incredible. They could stop making stuff, and we would have stuff for 5 continuous years of watching stuff. We are covered. All that's left for us is social issues to yell about. That's it.
Like, we should be, but we're
not.
tired.
We're so tired that we're just like, Eternal sucks. The AEW sucks.
Like, as I was watching Eternals, double masked up, so don't yell at me.
You've grown.
Well,
You should be able to get 3 hours with people a month. I mean, what the fuck? You gotta. Here's the deal. At some point, statistically, every group of people has a person with COVID in it now in America. That is a fact. How you deal with that reality is the reality we all live in per person. Whether you don't give a fuck, more power to you, or give all the fucks, we all need to deal with it. So you see a movie once every 3 weeks is fine. We have to deal with it. We cannot escape it. It's endemic to the country. America is COVID-19. Rah rah. 2022. So yes, there's nothing wrong with it. I trust you to see the proper matinee with the masks on. It's assumed that you are taking advantage, you are taking care of yourself. It's fine.
Yeah, like I kept the mask on, I ate nothing. Just touched nothing. But I did go see it. Like as I was watching it, I could feel like the think piece rising out of me when like there is a sex scene in the Eternals. I think it's not a major spoiler. But there was like a gasp around the theater with this like super like sanitized like small hint of a female orgasm that was shown. Like no flesh really was happening. You saw like a dude's shoulder and then like facial expression on a lady. Like it's so far from pornographic. Yet the response was like just superhero dick copter slapping somebody in the face. Like and I was just like, really? Is this what we've become? Has our like society become so sex negative or like sex averted that like this milk toast ass sex scene draws gas from a room full of adults? Like there was less tension when 2 men kissed than when 2 people like consummated their love, which was like thousands of years in the making. So like they waited long enough. Like it's fine. But and I was like, oh, is that like as I felt that think piece bubbling up, I'm like, no, it is not 2013. You're not this person. How about you engage with the media that you paid to see instead of like think piecing? And
it's hard not to. In your defense, it's hard not to think piece. It's part of how we like I said, what we know is a part of how we interact with all of our media all the time.
Yeah, and it was very weird because like as I was walking off, I was like hearing some old white ladies, which I also thought was great. Like old white ladies just went as a group to see Eternals. I'm like, if Jack Kirby could see this shit, like, like wow. But this gag lady is like, well, I thought it was a little racy for these types of films. They're supposed to be for families, and I'm like, well, how do you think families happen? Somebody had to fuck. Like,
I mean, in fairness, I can see where if you are not aware, like I didn't know there was a sex scene in it, but I knew it had a
you can
real.
barely classify it as a sex
Listen,
scene.
I'm saying is that I know if the Marvel movies have been pretty much milk toast, except for Joss Whedon's weird characterization of Black Widow in Age of
I mean,
Ultron.
we forget that
For
like Iron Man, like just seemingly raw dog some bitchy reporter in Iron Man. Like
yeah,
they started off.
and like the first Iron Man, but that
Yeah.
was the first Iron Man was released in 1945. So it's just like it's been a while since we've seen any type of edge besides like
Yeah, but it's so shocking that like uh you know, working with the things that I work with, I guess I am very desensitized to sexual content to the point where I'm just like, yeah, people bone. That being in a room of for lack of a better term, normies, and seeing the shock that like people are doing the nasty. And like these old, like they were old ladies, like gray hair. So I'm like, you guys have probably done that. Like, why are you so scared of it? Like, literally, the way they were talking about it, you would have thought that, like, the movie, like, faded out and then, like, the Brazzers logo was embossed on the screen and it was just, like, Gaping Angels 12. Like, that's just not what was
jail,
happening.
please. Please. Yeah, I agree with you. Um, I've always thought that being shocked is America's chief export besides white women, and so it it is what we do here. Is we are shocked by things. We are shocked by things here. That is
And
our.
I guess I just can't fathom it because like I am too tired. Like I saw so many like bait tweets that uh maybe even like 5 years ago I would have been like, I am like I'm parking myself on Twitter and I now must make this person know how bad a person they are. Because there were people people saying that Eternals is anti-Asian man propaganda
Oh dear.
because an Asian woman has a white boyfriend, despite the fact that there is also an Asian man with a white woman, but like they gloss that over because it doesn't fit their narrative. But the fact that they think Disney is making anti-Asian male propaganda, first of all, uh, no, like, but then again, people believe that a very dead Kennedy was going to reemerge and christen Trump as a true God King. So
Right.
we're like not in the best headspace as a
No.
species right now.
No. No.
But like I looked at those tweets and I was like, you know what? I choose not to engage in this. I'm just going to block and mute all the people that are like talking all that noise. And I just went about my time. And I was like, you know what, NaNoWriMo, I'm trying to get my 1,000 words a day. Let me do something constructive. And I was like, growth. But I feel like that is not the trajectory of most. Because I feel like people are just like picking at even more, not even nonsensical, just like of the things they could like make their dying hill, the Asian dick to white vagina ratio in a Marvel movie just still seems odd to me, but
Um,
not odd enough that I'm like, I'm gonna engage in this. I just feel there's more to life than
yes,
yelling at strangers on the internet.
I agree with you.
No. I've actually been interneting for good because I found a positive news story.
Wait, what?
Yes, like
Where?
something that was like, "Oh, this brings me hope."
Okay. Um,
And then I found one that, just destroyed my faith in humanity. But let's do the good one first.
okay. Okay. I'm ready.
So,
Okay.
uh, according to Reuters, there is a new condom that's about to be ready on the market in December in Malaysia and the surrounding markets. And it is called the Wonderleaf Unisex Condom.
Ooh.
And it is made by a gynecologist that was, oh, his name is John Tang Ching. And he just saw that there's like, during the pandemic, there's this rise in STDs and unexpected pregnancies.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking at all the PPE that everybody's using and wearing. And he's like, how can I improve both? And he made a super thin polyurethane adhesive based condom that could either be worn in an innie or on an outie. And it is made to combat stealthing,
Oh.
which he recognizes as a form of rape because
Ooh.
he's like, I guess he probably thought, everybody is in place, you're stuck, yet there's all this unwanted or unexpected pregnancies. Uh, he wanted to make something that would be undetectable. So if your partner is stealthing you, you will still be protected. And it's something that you can't feel once it's in. Now, I am going to admit it sounds very good, but the idea of putting adhesive inside me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But
it's going to be on the shelves in Malaysia by December, and it's only gonna cost, a pack of 2 for about $3.61, which is kind of cheaper than a 3-pack of Trojans.
are we gonna order it and are we gonna order some?
I want to, but, like, I think my pussy retired, like, who test on who, what?
I mean, you can drop it an email or something, like see how it feels about, doing mild research work. You know what I mean? Like I understand, but you guys, I mean, the only person, I mean, you're the only person that's going to be able to contact it. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe slide in the DMs, check and see how they feel about, doing some work for the show, you know?
I'll see. Maybe they'll give me, like, some review ones, but, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna wanna ship it all the way from Malaysia.
I mean, they're not going to ship it in a timely manner all the way from Malaysia, but I'm certain they'll take our money. I mean, we're going to have to pay extra.
I mean, it's $4.
Right. So then I would probably put it to be, I guess, everything, all things considered, be about 25, 30 at most. I think it's worth.
My question is, does this adhesive, uh, like, did they test it on people with hair? Because I feel like that could hurt.
Ah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
If you Google one to leaf unisex condom, you'll see it. It's very it just looks like a normal condom basically. It just has like I guess some sticky stuff, but the sticky stuff looks like it's on the base. So I'm like, that's where hair lives. But I would love this for everyone just to be like, oh, I got it. Like, you person can't, like, it's already in there, can't even feel it, it's whatever. And then I can, like, discard it. So I don't have to worry about you poking holes in anything or what have you. I'm all for a unisex condom because we had a, any condom, and then they decided that they want to make it like prescription based and all kinds of weird shit. So like basically nobody uses them anymore. So I want this so hard for humanity. I just don't want to rip off my pubes.
Security comes at a cost, is what a U.S. general would say in this situation, and then leave when we realize we're talking about an adhesive unisex condom. Please continue.
So you do peel it out of you or peel it off you, but I just feel like there hasn't been much innovation when it comes to condoms in a very long time. It's like olden time condoms. It was like animal intestines, and then they were like, that's not great. And they're like latex, and then for a really long time it was like just that, and then they're like, oh well, some people die from latex. We're gonna use something else, and then they're like, okay, non-latex, and then that was it. But it wasn't a lot of innovation in like how can we make this safer, or how can we make um, protection a little add some more equanimity in there. So yeah, isn't that like a good thing? Somebody spent the pandemic inventing a better condom.
Yes. Now, are you sure you want to send the show crashing into the clock tower? Given that we actually have someone who spent the pandemic doing a very good thing that will be interesting. And we will attempt to get condoms for myself and Jayla, and we will do the science.
Well, I can. I'm gonna have a buffer story.
Okay.
Depending on how you feel about it, because I've been having some interesting conversations publicly and privately about this.
All right.
Have you ever heard of Brass Against?
What is that?
Brass Against is a kind of nerdcore outfit. They are a brass instrument band that does covers of metal and hard rock and like uh, alt rock stuff.
Right.
They have a front woman, Sophia Urista, and they did a set at a Florida show, Rockville, and the front woman had to pee,
Right.
and a fan was like, "You can pee on me,"
Uh-huh.
and she did.
Okay.
Uh, and despite the fact this is like a metal rock show, everybody was like, "Pearls clutched."
So someone asked to be peed on by their favorite person and was peed on by their favorite person.
Yeah.
That sounds
And then
like
afterwards, he like spit it like Triple H.
oh, so she peed in his mouth and then he spit mist. He sprayed it into the mist in the air triumphantly.
Well, he stayed on the ground, so it just went up and went back on him. And then after the set, she cleaned everything up.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't see the problem. I would say, considering he paid the price for a regular ticket, he got several $100s more of his money's worth than the price for a regular ticket. I would say that's about, unless that's about $1,000 ticket right there that he probably paid for maybe $100 for. So kudos to him for maximizing his investment. Kudos to him.
Well, there are people that are saying, "Oh, this is so inappropriate," because it was being streamed live on Twitch. Obviously, they cut the stream short. Oh, the stream. Ah. They live streamed her stream.
We just call it a live
They did.
stream. We just call it a live stream. Anyway, please continue.
And so people were like, "Oh, that was inappropriate because it was on a platform that is safe for work, blah, blah, blah." And then other people are saying, "Oh, well, it was too explicit to happen without prior warning, even though it obviously wasn't planned. She just had to pee." And I have like two minds about this. I am not somebody who thinks every rock show should be a Gigi Allen tribute. Obviously, like I don't want the performer to look me in the eye directly. No. So I'm sure I would not have enjoyed this. Uh, but I kind of like the band was like, "I'm so sorry." Like they didn't have their front woman's back. And there's just a part of me that's like, you guys are like a solid band. You're supposed to have like the band's back.
Yeah.
As ludicrous as that sounds.
That's
But
I agree with you.
uh
I'm not gonna lie, I agree with you. I think that's kind of as a band, that's
yeah,
like
but I also understand that people could be upset because they're like, I did not come to the show looking for water sports and did not consent to witnessing water
yeah,
sports. It's kind of
uh,
like when couples like walk one on a leash in public or do like
you,
puppy play in public.
it every so often things happen that require nothing happening in the moment and a future rule implemented going forward. Like it's just like this requires a rule but no punishment, because it's one of those things where you have a concert and then you get the call and you go, "Hey, this lady peed in someone's mouth," and then you go, "Well, did he ask for it?" And they go, "Yeah," and I go, "All right, in the future, tell the performers don't pee off the stage, thanks," and then you hang up. And it's like that's like I totally understand if people do not want to deal with the water sports going forward.
It's weird because they were like doing a cover of Rage Against the Machine. So I'm like, I remember young Rage Against the Machine, or they're like climbing on stuff on MTV and just ripping it down.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah, rock and roll." And I'm like, okay, so like a little piss is what you guys
Right.
can't.
Right.
That's
That's what
very machine-like behavior
right.
from a bunch of metalheads, is all I'm saying.
Right. And that's what I mean. It requires a future rule. If we have a metal concert on Twitch, nobody can pee off the stage.
And it's like I've been to hardcore shows where like the lead singer will just like, do one of those like farmer hankies where they just like whoo right in the audience. It's just like phlegm. I way more offended at that.
Right.
Than the idea of like a guy really enjoying getting pissed on.
Right.
As long as the piss doesn't splash on me.
Right. If I owned a bar while this happened, I don't care. I don't care. And I would actually say something. I was like, "Wait, good job covering for good job defending your front woman band."
And I was also like to say, like, she didn't miss a beat. Like, she was still singing while doing it.
Right. And she's the fucking best. And listen, this is a situation that requires a single rule added to the general list of rules that exist. That's it. Nobody needs to be punished. Nothing. It's just when we stream metal concerts on Twitch, you can't pee off the stage. That's it.
And like, as somebody who's seen like water sports stuff, which I'm not like super into, but like I think it's becoming more mainstream.
Right.
Uh, you know, 'cause, FYI, not everybody could squirt, but a lot of people make squirt videos. So, draw your own conclusions there.
Hey, go on.
So, like you see it and you're just like, like this wasn't like they didn't film this like salaciously.
Right.
Like you couldn't see any genitalia.
Right.
It was just you couldn't even see butt cheek, just like side profile, hip
Right.
maybe. And she tinkled. Uh he went phew, like a whale, went up, went down.
Hey, that's what's up.
And then he, went, "Ooh, I'm on top of the world," and then got off the stage, and then they, finished the show.
Right. That's what's up. That's good. Like I said, it's just one of those things where we just make a rule. Like we just like on Monday, like right now, I'm in a Slack, and then someone goes, "What do we do about Monday?" And I go, "All right, take this sentence and put this in the general list in the contracts going forward." And there we go. And that's it. In the
Yeah.
contracts and in the paperwork, you can't do this shit. That's it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe there should be, like, when you buy concert tickets, like, a consent to certain things.
Right. Going
Like
forward, absolutely. There
like,
should
are
actually.
you cool with, bodily fluids? If not, maybe don't sit in the front
Right.
row.
Exactly. Right.
Me personally, I hate when I go to a concert and anything flies above my head because I've seen every Final Destination movie and I have way too active an imagination. So I'm just not going to be able to enjoy the concert while anybody flies above my head. I wish I could opt out of sitting in a section where anybody flies, like whether it be a dude on a piano. I've seen K-pop girls just fly and they're on strings. I'm like, she's real high up. She only weighs like 89 pounds, but terminal velocity, she can still take me out if she falls on my skull. So I don't know. I don't like it. So if I could choose, if I could consent to certain things in the concert, not being in a under fly zone would be a big one for me. Um, some people might not like pyrotechnics. I love a good fire show. Like I'm easy to please. If flames come out of the stage, I'm like I'm being entertained. Peak entertainment. Just like any movie with a dragon. I'm just like certain things for certain people. It's just like yes. But I admittedly probably would opt out of the piss. I would not want to be
Right.
underneath the piss fountain.
Right. Me neither. Not into that thing.
No.
Or more so, I mean, I don't think I'd want to find out in that context, but maybe I would.
Like this seems like in theory, the part of me that's like be ungovernable. Fuck yeah, anarchy. Is like that. But then there's also part of me that's like, you tinkle, no, it's a baby. I don't like it. So I see both sides, but ultimately my thought is if I'm your front woman in your band, your nerdy ass brass cover band, clearly I'm the coolest one in this room. And if I piss on a guy, you guys better go fuck yeah.
And apologizing for that shit. Come on now.
And don't apologize on my behalf.
Bro, no. Here's the deal. You say what I just said. It was like, well, he asked for it. She gave it to him. In the future, I imagine they're going to have to put some stuff in writing. That's it. Right now, though, I don't think anything was wrong with what happened. If they don't want it to happen again, make a rule. We'll follow it. we will follow it.
I'm sure technically they weren't like, hey, no piss stuff when they took the stage. So
Right.
they found out
Right.
after the fact
Right.
that piss stuff was off the table.
Right. And it wasn't off the table. It's off the table as of now before the end of business day. Okay. That happens all the time. I assume this is the genesis of most road signs. Like those road signs that say that there's a hard turn coming up, reduce your speed. It's because somebody slammed into the median at 80 miles an hour. Had to have before they put that sign up. Have you seen the way Americans act or react to things? Every road sign is probably accompanied by at least 5 deaths.
Yeah.
So I don't think putting up a road sign that says no pissing on the crowd after the fact is out of line for how we create rules and fill our documents. I don't think it's any different. So, okay, fine.
Yeah.
As of 5 p.m. today, you cannot pee on into the crowd on a Twitch
Well, she
streamed
didn't
metal
pee
concert.
into the crowd.
She peed into the dude.
She was like, I totally have to pee. I'm not going to make it to the bathroom.
Right.
And I want to finish this song.
And he peed and yeah, right. And so I mean,
And
that's
a guy was like, I will be your toilet.
right. Either way, that is now not a thing that can happen as of 5 p.m. today. But it did happen, and no one did anything wrong because no one knew it was anything wrong, including me, the person who deems what's wrong and right. I didn't know it was a thing till now. So, with this new information comes new clauses in the paperwork.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like the consent issue, I get it. I do get it. But I feel it not saying anybody asked for it by going to a rock show, but like people used to kill animals live on stage.
Right. And I imagine
This is so tame in comparison.
Right. And I would bet you good money that someone probably slit the throat of a goat, threw it into the crowd, and then on Monday, before end of business day, someone was like, at these concerts, you cannot murder any animals on stage for any reason. We're not
I'd be way more upset if I saw a show and like Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a bat.
Right.
I like bats. They look like they're doing little dances. If you flip the footage, it's great.
Bats are delightful.
They are. I don't want to see one get decapitated.
Right.
So,
and one of the reasons why he's probably stopped doing that is because, again, hey, Ozzy says here, you can't chew the heads off of any live bats going forward. And he said, bet. I quote, bet. And then he stopped doing it.
I remember them doing like hardcore shows, like very hardcore electric shows, where they would get like just a barrel of horse semen and just chuck it into the first couple, like the front.
Right.
I mean, they would tell you, they're like, hey, we are going to throw stuff. So if you're in a mosh in this pit, we're going to be throwing mud and whatever garbage on you. And people would be like, yeah, fuck yeah, rock and roll. I would be like, oh, I'm going to stay way in the back and still have a poncho on, because if anything gets on me, I will die instantly from horror and disgust. But I'm not saying like this is what rock and roll has to be, but like, isn't like you go for a crazy show and then somebody does something crazy and you're like, no, not like this. Like, it seems weird.
Well,
is that like victim blaming? Like, I don't feel great saying this. So
it's one of those things where
I am
you
probably wrong.
You wonder about the integrity of what makes the show, which is a thing to wonder about. But it depends on what comes first. So to you, does consent come first, or the integrity, the main level, like the intensity of a rock show as you remember them? And that's a question for each individual person. What is more important to you? Because both viewpoints are true, but which is most important is dictated by your value system.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I definitely would not want anybody to feel like violated.
Right.
But like, I feel like this was like non-sexual peeing.
Right.
Like, it was more of like a rock and roll tinkle.
Right.
I feel bad saying this, so I'm gonna just say I'm wrong.
Well,
feel
the consent overall, and like many things, consent, the presence of consent, changes the way we go about a lot of our business, and therefore our business has to change because of it.
Yeah, because there are people legit saying, "Is this sexual assault?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think this was a sexual act on the part of the singer.
No, not at all.
I think she just needed to piss."
Right. It was
So
it was wild. It was wild. It's not sexual assault. It was wild. It might
yeah,
have been too wild for the audience in that moment.
yeah.
That's it. But it was wild. It wasn't. It definitely was not sexual assault. It was just
And they were like, not sexual assault on the guy who got peed on, but like sexual assault to the people who did not want to see somebody get peed on.
wild. Right.
Because, the dude that got the tinkle enthusiastically
Listen,
consented
he
to
got
that
his
tinkle.
whole life. He got his whole life. He did. Kudos to him.
Because, like, I'm thinking, like, I was aware of Brass Against before this as like, what a kooky concept. Like a bunch of band nerds found a cute chick that is a good front woman and they cover these rock songs. It's adorable. So like they weren't completely unknown to me. So I don't know if this guy like came to the concert with like, I need to be closer to the front woman of Brass Against. Like they weren't like the headliner for this. So he was most likely there to see another band. And it was just like, oh, I could also get peed on. Okay. I do wonder if he came alone because I'm thinking, how is he getting home? Is he like having to call an Uber? Is he getting in his car covered in pee? Uh, it's just there's so many questions that I kind of don't even really want answered. I don't feel like uh, this was like premeditated in any way, shape, or form.
Right. This required it was a performance thing, and it happens. You adjust the rules going forward.
And I also saw people saying like, "Oh, well, if she was a man, she would have been arrested." And I was like, I don't know. I've seen way too many guys pee on stage,
Yes.
whether it's in like a bottle or on other people.
Yes.
So
But again, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, where the context is, it's like your outrage should be affected by context and history, which you obviously are missing, because if you knew, you wouldn't be mad at this in this way if you knew the context. So you have to well, actually, in the history of hardcore metal concerts, the performer has a history of questionable interactions with the audience. And then you go on and explain the actual context of everything. And, so we're old. We're old.
yeah,
We're old in the internet age, Jayla. We're old.
I do. I feel like people don't remember like crunkcore
Right.
and like Warp Tour hardcore bands. Like that was like the most sanitized version. I think that's what people are remembering from hardcore shows and not remembering mosh pits where people spit their teeth at each other and
Right.
then like thought that was awesome.
Right. So it's right. This is kind of what we're trying to balance out as per the beginning of the show. I appreciate that we brought it full circle.
Yeah.
We're too old and we remember too much stuff. Remember when your senses are supposed to fail you? Like we were supposed to become like hard of hearing and stop remembering things as we got older. And in fact, we're so anxious, we hear everything and now remember everything in great detail
Yeah.
as it changes and can recall the great scope of changes across many topics now.
Yeah. Or that you're gonna get more conservative as you get older, and
No.
now I went from, like, super Christian, Sunday school teacher to or what, like, a little water sports guy?
I mean,
That's a
what?
little
Yeah, there's
switch.
a little bit of water sports. Gonna put some hair on your chest. Get out there.
Yeah. Like, people used to line up to lick Jimmy Urine's face. Like,
Yeah.
you were disgusting.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Being old. I think we're going to be a different generation of elderly. We are just going to be a different generation of elderly from the looks of it.
Yeah, yeah, or we'll turn into, those old ladies who, while were super cool for going to see the Eternals, which I did not think was gonna have a lot of, non-hardcore fan appeal, uh, were like, "But they did it in it. I wasn't expecting that."
I don't think so. We are not trafficking in being shocked. We're actually going in the other direction. So you and I, we're kind of not we're not being shocked, as we remember things too well to be shocked, which is why I
Yeah.
would just be like, oh, well.
No, I
uh,
do remember there was this very, like, uh, popular Twitter thread some weeks ago where somebody was like, "I don't see the point of sex scenes in movies. They are unnecessary and too graphic." And I was like, "What? Is this where?" And the person didn't seem like older than 25. So I'm like,
I
you forget
actually
how like movies and cable used to be."
I don't. You know what's funny is I don't actually disagree, but only because I find sex scenes to be generally not well written into the actual minute to minute
Well,
of
I
of,
think
of
most
most
people
movies.
think about sex scenes, they think of Game of Thrones, where it just seems like titties were thrown in for titty's sake,
Yeah.
and it's not actually like part of the narrative, and
Well,
it's just,
well, actually,
and then she was naked.
I actually am I'm of the opposite mind. If you're in a brothel and a character is a womanizer and they're in a brothel and you grab them out of a brothel, then your titties are gonna be all Kimbo for a few minutes there while you get them out of the fucking brothel. If you get me out of a fucking brothel, then be titties all about until you explain why the hell you're here trying to get me out of this goddamn brothel. That actually makes sense to me.
You
Um,
know, we have to name this episode Tits Akimbo, right?
writing it down. And but like some movies, I think like when growing up, I would see these sex scenes where the movie would go from one thing to like softcore Cinemax pornography in the middle of a movie that like changes the direction style and the lighting and everything. And there's like a sex scene without much provocation, and then it becomes a different movie. So we can see some naked lady lovingly in the middle of see some actress naked in the middle of our fucking movie we were just watching. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why those are there. Those are bad. And I think those are a vast majority of sex scenes I've seen in things. So I actually don't
Yeah.
disagree for different reasons, obviously. But
Well, I feel like there's not a lot of media now that even has them.
right.
Like, when I talk about a sex scene, I mean, like, there's thrusting. Like, I don't think, like, they're kissing and they have the magical L-shaped, sheets where no nudity is happening, and it's just, like, not even writhing and just dry kisses. Like, that to me is not a sex scene. That's, like, a placeholder so you know that the characters, did it, but, like, they're not showing nothing. And I think that's the majority of sex scenes now in modern media.
I
Like,
haven't. That's the last time I've seen a good sex scene. Jesus Christ, it's been a while since I've seen a
they
sex scene
they
in a movie.
don't use them a lot.
I
Like,
mean, I don't. Like I said, I don't
rated R movies are usually rated
for
R for,
violence.
like, violence or
Right.
language, but not sex anymore.
I mean, growing up, the sex was it was good if you were trying to see someone naked as a youth. But in the framework of a movie, most of them were bad. It was just a really interesting way to see an actress semi-nude as a youngster. It was not anything of it was not anything of narrative importance that added anything. to a movie, unless the movie is about sex, like, and then the movie is, some of those movies, like, the sex is like being circled, and it becomes a natural part of the of the scene to scene of the flow, but that's very rare.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we don't even have like romance movies anymore. Like rom-coms kind of died as a genre.
I mean, I think we got tired of looking at the whole scruffy dude is owed a spectacular woman, here's why genre. Like, rom-coms would have to change fundamentally. And yeah.
Yeah,
Or
like I remember the last movie I saw where there's just like not explicit, but like an explicit discussion of sex. Um, I forgot what it was called. It's one of those Judd Apatow. I hope I'm saying his name right.
Judd
Movies.
Apatow.
Oh, I was wrong.
I mean, I may be wrong too. I've never actually. I thought it was Judd Apatow, but
Apatow.
Apatow. I don't know. Well, we
That
know
guy, the
that
one with
fellow,
the dude from Green Day in it.
the homie. Yes.
And like it has Paul Rudd in it, and he is like a he's supposed to be a schlubby dad, and I'm like, it's Paul Rudd, but he's talking about how disheveled he is with his abs. It was weird, but it was also probably like an older movie, like 2013 or whatever. And he plays like a married dude, and the lady that's his wife. They're like, well, it's your birthday, and they just talk about like blowjobs, and then like she does it, and I was just like, oh, okay, but like I wasn't used to that. And because I think older movies, uh, like I've been watching a lot of like classic air quotation movies, and movies from the 70s would just be like, this is like a introspective character study, but a chick that has 2 lines is gonna show you her titties and her ass.
Yes. Yes.
Like they had a quota. They're like, "Yo, this is a rated R movie. We have to deliver the goods." And I don't think that happens as much. Like I feel like we have more in context
Yes.
sexuality in films.
Yes. To the point where a lot of films don't have the sexuality on display because there's no context for it, which I honestly
Yeah.
like to see.
Though I do remember now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of it, but it was Michael Bay with Deadpool guy.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's many car chases in this, like the plot. What plot? But like smack dab in the middle of that movie, there's a sex scene that Ryan Reynolds has with a woman who previously wasn't in the movie. Like it seemed like they shot it and they just stuck it in there. And then they didn't really address it afterwards. So I was like, oh, that just happened. And I think that movie came out in like 2019. But it's also Michael Bay. So I feel like that's like not a regular movie.
I think I know what
Like,
you're talking about. Hold on. I know what you're talking about. I think that movie just came out recently.
not the one with like Mike, The Rock and Detective.
Oh no, not that
Show.
one. No, that one is like 3 months old or something like that. I know there's another one you're talking about though.
No, I think this one is a little bit older. Like it has to be like
2019. It's called Six Underground.
Sure. Whatever. Fine. I just remember it like as I was watching it, I was like, did I have a stroke? Like nothing makes sense. Like it was the most things are happening at my eyes. But nothing is like it's a movie? Question mark. It was like jazz. Shit just happened and you're like, sure. I would see if every movie was like that, yes, we'd have a definite argument that the way American movies uses sex is overzealous. But I feel like we don't do that much anymore. It's so much so that when you do see it, it is shocking. So that's why I was surprised to see so many people be like, there's too much sex on TV, especially now because TV and movies are so, um, like you have to seek it out now.
So here's a question kind of coming back around to what we were talking about earlier. Where do we find balance? So we do have infinitely less sex on TV. I agree with you. But if some people think there is too much sex on TV now when there was too much sex on TV before, or at least pointless sex in movies,
Well,
when
it seems exploitative sex in
right,
movies.
exactly. Okay, exploitative is a great qualifier. Exploitative sex in movies. Where's the line?
I kind of feel like it should be like a musical
What?
where the songs, uh, when you can't uh, say the emotions just through words, like you sing, and when the action is so hyped up, you dance. I kind of feel like that's how sex scenes should be. So they
Oh,
should be
a logic. They should be
like plot. Yeah.
logically built around them.
Yes. It should be something that teaches you about the characters and their situation.
I thought that was what was
And
happening.
I would say, what did you say, 6 feet underground or whatever?
Yeah, Six Underground.
6 underground. Again, sure. That movie, the sex scene did not uh, inform the story or the characters in any meaningful way, except that Ryan Reynolds has abs, and I guess they were like, people are getting bored now, show the abs. Like, I feel like there were several scenes of stuff happening, and like they had a test audience to see when they started looking at their phones, and they were like, okay, insert abs at this point so we get their eyeballs back on the screen. That's how that sex scene felt, like it was a reshoot or something.
They brought them back to this
Yeah,
weird scene.
yeah. Because I was like, who is this person? I was like, she wasn't in the scene before. She's not in the scene after. Literally was rewinding the movie to try to find that chick. And I'm like, is that supposed to be his ex-wife? Then why is this happening now? It was weird. Like that I would call a jarring sex scene. I mean, though I think it happens in other mediums. Like I have read books where I'm like, okay, they told the author to sexy this up because this is not an earned sex scene. Like I'm here reading about fairies and like magic worlds, and then suddenly somebody in the middle of a battlefield is going to slob some fairy knob. It's a little jarring. And yes, that's a Sarah Moss call out. 800 pages of fairy dick. Sorry. No, I shouldn't because I'm sure she's delightful, but whatever. So I don't know. Like I kind of feel like it's also super subjective because I think maybe if you, for example, was looking for fairy dick in a book and you read through 800 pages and there was no fairy dick, I would see that that person could be very upset. But I guess for me, when I think of magical elf war, I don't think about uh, blowjobs on the field while people die around you.
What book? What book is this?
uh God, let me see. It was like the court or something.
You gotta be real specific because you just got real specific out of nowhere. So now we have to get real specific.
I would have to like go and find my tablet
Well,
with my Kindle app on
this
it.
is a developing story. Next time we record, we will actually properly center the story that has you
Like,
so mad.
it's not mad. It was just like very much not what I expected because like I was talking to a buddy of mine about NaNoWriMo, which is happening right now, National Novel Writing Month, and we're both doing it. And she asked what mine was about, and she was like, "Oh, so you would like this author," and gave me a link to a bunch of their books, and I chose one at random and started reading it, and I was like, "This is like real horny." like, like real horny, like uncomfortably horny.
Was it one of those situations where you learn a lot about the person that recommended you the book because you read the book?
Kind of, but because I guess, but it also could have been like, she knows me, and I'm, I deal with sex and sexuality a lot, so maybe she just thought that would be up my alley. But I was thinking like non-Christian Narnia kind of situation, and then I got like so horny for fairy dick, like like paragraphs to describe the exquisiteness and the heft of a fairy dick. More than was explained, like how their wings work. It was
Well, in
again.
fairness, we know how fairies work. I would love to know how their genitals work. I listen. There is interest in it.
But you know what? It did make me think with the thing I'm writing. Which of my characters has a big dong? I had not considered that, and apparently that might come up. My readers might ache to know who has inches and who does not. Which I'll put that on the wiki, I guess. So you know the length and girth of every character.
You absolutely should give it some thought.
Not to. These are really popular books. So I know somebody's writing an angry letter right now about me belittling this. Now I feel like I'm being the sex negative one. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it was sold to me in a way that downplayed how integral the horniness was. I was not expecting a book with a romantic subplot, let alone one that was so wit. The aroma and the heft, the heaviness of want in every vagina in this book. It is turgid with want on every page. Because okay, so I was like, I am not sure how I will do with action scenes, because for my NaNoWriMo project, I originally envisioned it as a comic, but I am untalented in drawing and poor, so that probably will not come to fruition.
Right.
So I'm thinking of maybe just doing like a light novel, which is it's basically a novel, but at certain intervals you have some comic pages. And it's not the most popular medium, but it seems like something that will work for me. So I was saying, because I was envisioning everything as a comic, I'm not really sure how I'm going to deal with some of the fights and action scenes. So she's like, oh, this book has great descriptions of action. I assumed that the only type of action was going to be fairies with swords kicking each other.
Ah, I see.
So I was sold a very different book. And the back cover does not, like the little description, does not convey the horniness.
What's the name of the book?
What is it? A Court of something?
You gotta look it up now. It's been 10 minutes. Chew, go look it up. You're on the hook. You talked about it for 10 minutes. We need a name now.
Was it A Court of Thorns and Roses? I think is the one I read.
A Court of Thorns and Roses. All right, by Sarah Moss. All right, guys. So if you guys want to inquire about the great details of fairy penis, which would
I
not
hope I'm
blame you if
getting the
you.
right one because I could be mixing up the authors because she gave me a bunch of books and I was just reading a bunch.
Well,
So let me look. Okay, romance scenes. I guess this is the one.
What's it called?
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
By Sarah
Does
Moss. All right.
Yeah, does a Court of Thorn and Roses have romance? Romance blooms quickly. Great sex is had and enjoyed and described in pretty explicit. Yeah, is this one?
All right. So there you go. Court of Thorns and Roses. All right. So if you are curious about the nature of fairy dick, get in there. I'm
Uh,
certain that's more than enough of us.
yeah, it's. I hope that it's supposed to be erotic, or else then it's just
I
a
hope it.
little much.
Listen, I hope it. I
Though it's
listen.
not listed as erotic.
Listen, I hope it. I just hope it scratches the unique itches of a unique audience,
Oh wait,
which is
there's like
our audience.
5 of these books.
There you go.
I thought it was going to be the fantasy book. So I haven't finished reading this book. Uh it's kind of lengthy for what it is for me. Um well, I mean it's not that long actually. I thought it was like 800 pages. I think it's only like 400 pages, but it seems like 800 pages if you get my drift.
Well,
Uh like there's a lot of repeated phrases and again it's wit. Just so explicitly wet.
well, and there you
Uh, and obviously, I'm not saying I'm better or more talented than a published author, but I feel like in my hands, I would uh, concentrate way more on their like world almost coming to an end and their way of life being threatened than will I get a hot poke in the next couple of pages. I I don't know. That
go.
just seems like the more
It
interesting
sounds
thing
like a
to
book you
me.
should stop reading objectively. Like what you just described is like it's almost like I don't. It does sound like someone ready to leave the bar. Just saying. So there's definitely an audience for that book.
Oh, no, it's insanely popular.
Right.
Um,
It's just you're not the audience for that book. And I think we're going to come to the conclusion that you are not the audience for that book.
I mean, I don't think I'm the audience. I think um, if I had been told that this is supposed to be erotic, still wouldn't do it for me, but I would have been prepared for it to be that much of a preoccupation. Um, I also am not super into romance fantasy. Like, like I've read through Game of Thrones and books like that. I read all like so many Redwall books, which are like high fantasy, but like with like animals, not anthropomorphic animals either, just like animals that are knights. Um, so like there's not romance really in them. And that's usually my lane, I guess.
Right.
I just never really got into romance novels. I don't think they're bad. I don't think you're like less of a reader if that is what you like what you like. Just personally for me, that doesn't really do it for me for books because I have no problem reading like slice of life romance comic books. So like I'm judging, but not from too far. But I think there's a difference between like a splash page and 450 words about a fairy dick.
Well, there you go.
There's levels, is all I'm saying. There's levels. I also hate that, like, who will she choose? Like, somebody's gonna storm your empire. It's not important. You can't introduce the world, like a world-ending war, and your character's way of life being threatened, and then be like, "But does she like boy?" Like, the fuck? Then again, I watched all seasons of Sailor Moon as a child, so cannot judge.
Well, there you
So we've done it again. We've talked. We've gone so many places.
go. I mean,
And
you did it. You did a good thing. We didn't end on a soul crushing story. We just gave everyone a perfectly valid book recommendation.
yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a recommendation at this point.
If you want to read about fairy dicks, then you can come to this book. If you do not, fair warning, this book has fairy dicks in it.
Yeah.
Right. I think I think you did it. I don't think you can do much better than that. You did it.
Yes.
So, congratulations.
Yay.
All right.
Okay, well, before I go, I do want to say that attached to this episode, there is a GoFundMe link, and it is in support of my cousin who is in Jamaica who has leukemia, and the medical system in Jamaica is a bit overrun because of COVID, like everywhere. So he is fundraising so he can hopefully get some expanded medical treatment. Sending his blood samples for testing to the US and hopefully seek some more effective leukemia treatments. So that is going to be attached, and you guys can read over and learn about him. And hopefully, if you can help out, I'm obviously knowing that everybody is, you know, financially fatigued during this pandemic, but if you can, please help out, and just sharing it, share the link if you can. That will help exponentially. So yeah, and we sufficiently done whatever it is we do now.
I think we nailed it. I think we did. We did a good job today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that super high, non-soul crushing note,
There you go.
I will see you all next Tuesday.